To jeszcze raz. Dzień dobry Państwu.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, good afternoon, dear ladies. It's quite interesting when we discuss equal society in terms of gender, equal rights of both genders, and we have only women with us today. Today we are going to discuss, to talk to Icelandic writer. However, I have to start the meeting with some technical aspects. I have to get used to the fact that I need actually to also address the audience which follows us online, because Big Book Festival is also online, available online. You can enter the online website. You can also watch us on YouTube. My name is Michał Kukawski. I'm a journalist. Once I visited Iceland, once in my life. To make this meeting more efficient, I will ask questions in English. However, you can choose the language version. You can follow the meeting in Polish, Polish translation, and you can also follow the original version. You will have the possibility to ask questions, and you can address author both in English or in Polish, no problem with that. And now I think we are technical aspects discussed. We have to finish at 3:15 p.m. at latest. So this is my great honor to moderate the meeting with the Icelandic writer, poet, playwright, and the author of the text of songs, lyrics actually, Auður Ava Ólafsdóttir. Her book actually, Hotel Silence, was published by the Poznańskie wydawnictwo, the publisher from Poznań. Let's welcome her on Big Book Festival. We can see the author now.
There are some standing ovations for you. Hello. Can you see us? Dobrze.
Can you hear me? Can you see me?
I can see you and I can hear you.
Hello, Poland. It feels like being on the Icelandic Eurovision contest jury, giving the 12 points to Poland.
Thank you.
Very happy to be at the Big Book Festival.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. I would have liked to be there in physics. You know, I was looking so much forward to come over to WARSAW.
But let's use the magic of technology. You can be in Warsaw and we can be in Iceland right now. So can you tell us?
Yeah, in my dining room.
Yeah, you can tell us where are you and what can you see from the nearest window?
Well, I can see your window actually. The same trees as in my garden, okay. And it's kind of the same view as I'm having in Poland as in my window in central Reykjavik.
Okay, so you're not.
So this is where I write.
So you're not.
No,
in
no,
the wilderness, no, not in a small hut somewhere, looking at the glacier.
No, that's even worse, the technology.
I'm asking about it because there is this art project, you can say. There's an Icelandic website where you can go and record your scream. You can shout out your computer, and then it will be played in the wilderness somewhere in Iceland. I'm not sure if I like the idea.
We we didn't like it, the Icelanders. We hated this idea because for us, Iceland is like a big monastery. It's the land of silence, in fact, so, and endless spaces, and so that's so precious. So there was, I don't know who came up with that strange idea.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that was my thinking, that I don't like the idea, and because I know that Icelanders have a special bond with wild nature, and in your book, the protagonist, Jonas, as a young man, used to write weather conditions, the temperature, and wind, and the couple in your book, again, is having sex on their way to the mountain, or when they're coming back, I don't remember, sorry. But there's only one, being who can see the scene, but we won't make any spoilers. But is this the landscape and those two elements that I talked? They make your writing profoundly Icelandic?
Do you think a sheep is a spoiler? Do you want an answer about the weather or the sex or the nature? Nature, yes.
Nature.
No, I think the nature is part of our personality, of who we are, and Icelandic nature and weather is so unpredictable, is so chaotic. You maybe heard that if you don't like the weather in Iceland, you just wait 5 minutes and you get another example. And but it's a dangerous nature, in fact. It takes you by the surprises. We have like 200 volcanoes, active volcanoes, in fact, and the vast spaces. And I think it makes us a bit who we are. If we are having like natural catastrophes, we rest quite stoic. We are good with dealing with crisis, financial collapses and re-eruptions at the same time. We would probably show our best, but in like everyday problems of little importance, we are not stoic. We're just like in a big family. So about the weather descriptions you mentioned, my hero writing weather descriptions, it's like our forefathers did. They wrote endless weather descriptions. Their diaries were full of weather descriptions, pages of weather descriptions. But if anything big happened, it was just like said in 2 words. Between weather descriptions of the morning and the afternoon, there was like daughter born at noon. And that's a bit maybe a part of also the Icelandic sense of humor, overstatement and understatement. Overstatement when nothing is really happening, but understatement if we have too many dramatic things going on at the same time. So that's maybe, I get straight to the point with my novel, because I have been criticized for a sense of humor in such a painful, dramatic story. But I think it's like a survivor kit. And there is also there is this tragic essence in Icelandic sense of humor. It's, full of pain.
Yeah, but when I was reading your book, I felt it's a profoundly Icelandic writing, but I couldn't really wrap my head around it. I mean, I didn't know exactly what is happening, why I feel that way, but when I get more into it, I felt that the isolation, or feeling of isolation, was pouring from the pages, and I was like moving in a fog, not knowing really where the right direction is. This is what you really wanted to do, or is it something that you have as an Icelander, as an Icelandic writer, that you have to add this kind of, I don't know, atmosphere to literature?
I think you are a bit like my hero. He's lost. He's going through an existential crisis.
All the time.
Actually, silence is part of the healing process in the book. The calm, the peace, the stillness. But it's a rather physical novel, I would say, about man's ability to regenerate, to renew himself. And I'm exploring some ideas of masculinity by looking into human suffering and pain. And, you know, my hero is a handyman, which is the archetype for Icelandic masculinity. Being able to fix everything except himself.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is my first novel being translated into Polish, and I'm so happy, and it has become a sort of a joke between me and my agent in Paris. I'm always asking each year, and Poland, any news from Poland? You are the number 33 language that the book has been translated into, so it's a beautiful number. But you know, in other novels, in my other novels, I often substitute language with body or physicality. In Hotel Silence, the body, skin, scars, tattoos, flesh, all play an important role. And on the other hand, my characters, and this goes also for Jonas, doesn't feel it easy to express himself in words. And my characters are often well-meaning persons that find themselves in impossible situations, and they try to find solutions. But they don't speak much, neither women or men. And maybe it's, I don't know, my specialty as a writer is to write in a language that no one understands.
Yeah.
It's a minority marginal language. It's the oldest language still spoken in Europe, spoken by 300,000 people. So I don't know, it might have something to do with this longing to give a voice to those who don't have voice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's. I think it's. I hope it's a good translation, because you can feel that there is a lot of humor in the book, but in the same time, that's the story of the post-war life. I mean, the Jonas never been to war, lives in a country which has no standing army, but he feels devastated, lost. His will to live is gone. And we have a city that went through war for several years, and it's war-ravaged city. its beauty is gone, but we know that there were a lot of beautiful places. But we can also feel and see that the restoration of both the city and the man might happen. It is still possible, but when you add some art to it, you can feel that it's even easier to do that.
Yeah.
That was your
yeah,
message.
I can't. Well, the hero, he's planning to commit a suicide, and he's going away, and he, in order to spare his his only child to find him, and but he's taking his drill with him, in case he has to put up a hook, but he's not a man that destroys anything. So, and he's used to doing women ask him to do. That's how men function in Iceland. They carry furniture and they put it down where a woman tells them to do. So he starts helping the women to rebuild this society. And after a civil war, there is no social justice. There is no neutral record of what happened. There are no winners. And what surprised me when I was watching documentaries was that people just, I wouldn't say they pretend that nothing happened, but they try to just continue with life. And there you come to those small things that a handyman can repair. And it's also part of my method, my poetry, to use the small things of everyday lives to talk about something bigger. It's I think there is no such thing as innocent text. Everything you put into a novel is there for a reason, and it has a meaning. I think every novel you read is a kind of a metaphor. It's a microcosmos. It's never the whole story. It's never the whole truth. It's always an extract of reality. So a writer like me uses, it's like a child's drawing. One tree stands for a wood. One traumatized child stands for all traumatized children. So it's a bit my method to try to talk about important things, to place the story in just this hotel silence, in fact in this small village. And like you said before, art is part of it can't be part of the healing process. Poetry can maybe save the world, I don't know.
How?
I mean, a writer is someone who organizes the chaos and gives it a meaning. It's like a writer is like being a cleaning lady or a cleaning man. You clean up the mess and you try to organize it and give it a meaning. And in poetry, the biggest part is actually the role of a reader, because there's so much space between the words, and that's the most important part of every text, the space between the words and the sentences, because that's where the writer puts his or her meaning into it. So it's a collaboration work. And how could poetry save the world? I find myself in it's a delicate things I'm trying to formulate, but I think language is a powerful tool. It's used for gaining power. Mm-hmm. And those who master language, they are in a privileged position, even if they have a bad cause to defend. And that brings us again back to silence, because I think it's not always those who shout out the loudest that have something to say.
Of course.
So this is a bit my meaning, to give a voice to well-meaning persons that don't find it easy to use words.
Mm-hmm. But I was thinking that when I was thinking about the message of the book,
yeah,
I thought you're telling us that the purpose in life is more important than everything else. I mean, the excitement, the experience. Now we are forced to experience everything, and you're saying that the good life is the one with the purpose. Is that right?
I don't know if there's a message. I'm asking questions. I would say how important is some good in life. I mean, if you look at I heard somewhere that there are like 6 million self-help books published each year in the West, and all those self-help books, they are focused on your happiness and your navel. It's like navel gazing, you know. And but you know, if you ask specialists, they would say the only way to happiness is to do something for others. And yeah, it's more like I mean, asking questions. I use this name for the hero, which means a dove, a sort of a peace dove. Mm-hmm. He's obviously lost, and I'm not sending him into the world to save the world, but no one can do everything, but everyone can do something, you know. It's not very complicated philosophy. Yeah, so where there is a way or a road, there is light, like someone said.
Mm-hmm. But you chose the role of someone who is doing something for others. You're saying that you want to give voices to the people who are not heard. Do you think that art, writing, painting, singing can change the world?
I think, you know, given the situation in the world today, I really would so much hope that we would use this opportunity to rethink the world in an, you know, ecological way. And when I said I was like using the small things of everyday life and make them stand for something bigger, it's actually this idea: the more specific you are, the more global. It's like the ecosystem. what is local is actually global. That's how, you know, young people think of the world. That's where we have hope. You know, we are really forced, given the situation, the COVID situation today, to think of the world as a whole. And, you know, before writing this book, I actually decided I was going to write a book about human suffering and pain, but I wanted to have light in it. I wanted to have hope.
Yeah.
It might be old-fashioned, but, you know, there are so many young people around me, intelligent, compassionate young people that are really, really concerned about the world today. Environmental issues, you know, our glaciers are melting before our eyes in Iceland. And they are concerned about the upcoming of hardliners. So I thought you know, for young people, I wanted to write a book that with some light in it. And cynical enough, the day after I decided to write a book about human pain and suffering, I fell and broke my right shoulder. So I was in pain for like 9 months writing the book. I wrote it with my left arm, you know, lying in my sofa with 2 pillows and the computer on, you know. So that maybe, you know, speaking of symbolic things.
Yeah, that's a great story. When I was in Iceland, and I spent only 5 or 6 days there, but I went there to write a story about equal pay rights in Iceland. So I've been there for 5 days, but I had a chance to talk to many, many people, and mainly women. And what I heard is that people in Iceland, it's I will use some generalizations, but which I don't like, but let's do it for the purpose of this meeting. That Icelandic family is a patchwork family. So you have more than one husband or wife. You are friends with your ex-wives and ex-husbands. Everybody is meeting at the one table. No one really stuck to their profession for life. I talked to many women. One of them was a butcher, plumber, and then she was, when we talked, she was a kindergarten teacher. So she was changing and her jobs and told me, I don't know what I will do in 3 years. And I thought, wow, this is a pure freedom thinking. Jonas, the character from your book, studied philosophy. He ran his family business, but he's a father, but it's complicated story. And so I had a feeling that the freedom that he has is a source of torment for him. And yeah, I wanted to clash those two views, my views of your book and Iceland that I brought, which one is more true?
That's an interesting point the interesting people you met in Iceland.
Really?
I think it's partly true. I think there is. We don't have that many prejudices in case of family or sexual orientation, or in Iceland. It's always been. It's maybe the closeness. We all know someone that is. I mean, I don't know. I've never met any ordinary people in life. I think we are all different and special, and I mean, there's nothing to tell. If people are just living happily ever after, there is no story to tell. But if speaking of suffering or unhappiness, there's always a very interesting story behind. But happiness is similar. When we are happy, we more or less have the same universal feeling of happiness. End of the story, nothing to tell. So, I mean, that wasn't answering your question, but I just wanted to say we are all humans. What makes us human is, in fact, the paradoxes. And I think for a writer, that's so interesting to try to understand the paradoxes that make us human. But back to Iceland society, yeah, in a way, I think you're right. We are spoiled, like, for education. It's I don't know if it might be part of more the younger generation, but people seem to want to have many parallel lives, many parallel careers. I used to be a university teacher for 20 years before becoming a writer, and often I established and taught art history and theory. And often when I had some students that already had a diploma in laws but didn't want to work as lawyers and were interested in art, or vice versa. So especially women seem to be collecting university diplomas, and many young women in Iceland, they have like 5 masters or something like that, which my generation didn't have. And also another problem, which is actually a problem, is that 70% of the university students are women in Iceland. Only 30% are men, and that goes for everything, you know, medicine, engineering, you know, those subjects that used to have mostly men. But and which also means that it's quite common in Iceland that those women that have 5 master's degree, they are married to a carpenter or a plumber or a sailorman. It's no big deal, it's no problem. The problem is elsewhere, like in any marriage.
Yeah, okay. But let's stuck.
Yeah, but yeah.
I thought we'll stuck to the numbers in Icelandic society, because this is every 1 in 10 Icelanders will publish a book. This is from the BBC article from 2015, I think. So it might be the numbers might be different now, but I know that 1 in 3 Icelanders will play on a musical instrument. Everyone, let's say, wrote poems in their life. So Icelanders are really into art. Why? Or what's so special? What is the, you know, what's the special power of art in Iceland? Why?
I don't know if it's quite true about every 10th Icelanders maybe wanting to write a book, but it's possible that it's more easy to publish a book in Iceland than in many other countries. But I think we have the same amount of good writers as you in Poland and in every country. I think we have really some really good writers. In poetry, mostly women, and in novelists, maybe it's more equal, you know, men and women. It's according to my counting, you know. I've traveled a bit in the world. I've been to so many. I've been so blessed to be invited to literary festivals, and men are still more present on the international scene. They are more invited, they are more visible in literary reviews and magazines. I remember I was once invited to a big festival with 70 writers, and there were only like 8 women, and I was one of them. And the thing was that those women, I'm not speaking of myself, but the other ones were so good. They were just outstanding, but there were so many male writers that were just average, and so you have to be, I mean, really good to be, yeah. But what I was, it wasn't really answering your question, but it was, yeah, just for saying that I think in every country there are equally as many good male and female writer or male or female artists given the opportunity. If they have opportunity, you would see with the same amount everywhere.
So you're not saying that Icelanders have some special relation with art, and art is, I don't know, some kind of I don't know, healing process, or dealing with the isolation, or.
But well, I hope so. I hope so. And you know, after the financial collapse in 2008, a very strange thing happened, and that was people started to read more books, go more to theater, to concerts, even if they had less money. I think you're also right in you know, poetry. In order to become a respected author in Iceland, you have to publish a book of poetry. Mm-hmm. The poetry is really, you know, the highest esteem you can have, being a poet, not a writer. So I had to write a book of poetry just to be taken seriously in Iceland, and it was sold like 30 copies, but nevertheless, it was a book of poetry. Yeah. But you know, a bestseller in Iceland can be, it's, you know, for 300,000 people, it's around 10,000 copies, even 15,000 copies.
Yeah.
So, and a book of poetry can become a bestseller. Mm-hmm. It's, you know, we buy books as Christmas presents. So we are not happy if we don't get like from, you know, 3 to 7 books.
When I was sitting at the bar in Reykjavik in the one evening, there was a young man sitting in a corner and selling his books. He wrote poems, he self-published the book, and he was selling it. And we talked a bit, and he told me, this is the normal way. This is how we do it. You write a book, your first book, you self-publish, and you're selling it, of course, in a bar.
Yeah, it's quite a tradition for the young poets to do that. And now we have, it's recent at the university, creative writing, it's very popular. And it's popular being a poet, becoming a poet. So, as one of many works you're doing.
What a country. I know that literature in Icelandic language, it's a combination of two words, yeah? Is it true? Books and education,
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
can you tell?
bókmenntir. Yeah, bókmenntir. I haven't really thought of that, but you know, we have so many, we have other interesting words, like I think to my knowledge, we are the only nation that uses the same word for home and the world. And it's heima and heimur. It means that, you know, the world is your home. You are the others are you. And that was a bit my idea of, you know, by this unnamed war-torn country, that it would be our next door neighbors. And that's most war, you know, in the world, sadly, is with our next door neighbors. Except Iceland is an island, so our next door neighbor is the sea. We don't have an army, we don't have military service, so we haven't had any wars with our neighbors because we don't have any neighbors.
But you have a powerful nature. Okay, let's see let's focus not on Iceland, but let's see the world as a whole. In one of the articles that you wrote, and I read it, you wrote, and I will quote you. And what should the hardliners and extremist groups of the world fear the most? What could be more dangerous in their eyes than long-range missiles and tanks, much more dangerous than natural disasters and climate change, even more dangerous than the dark night of the soul? What is the most dangerous thing in the world? Words, dialogue, to speak to your enemies. And then you write, perhaps this fear stems from the suspicion that between the words, between the lines, there lies a deeper meaning. I believe it's subtext that people fear the most. The meaning beneath the meaning, which lies in the multiple layers like an onion. You talked about silence, but I want to clash it with the one warning that is coming from your book, that on page 190 in Polish version of your book, that you can misunderstood so many words. So on one hand, you're saying metaphor is a strong, powerful weapon, and again, you're saying words can be misunderstood in so many ways.
Yeah, that's, you know, the more maybe philosophical aspect of what you read, but, you know, the more just down to earth, and the political aspect is that what hardliners, you know, all over the world seem to fear the most is free speech. And who, if you just look at history and see what kind of people are those who disappear, the ones that are, you know, like the most dangerous people are like writers and those who are fighting for human rights and university teachers and etc., etc. And I could, you know, mention endless examples of in some cases it was just enough to wear glasses, you know, like in Cambodia, then you were a dangerous person. You could read, you could criticize, you could have a free spirit or a free way of thinking. Yeah, it's just I might be repeating myself, but it's just not those who shout out the loudest to attract the attention of the world that have something to say necessarily.
But can you tell me what was going through your mind when you wrote that?
That one.
Yeah, about misunderstanding the meaning of words.
Yeah, isn't that the source of wars? You know, fear of the other and partly misunderstanding. You know, thinking someone hates you, and I think there is this connection with the meaning of silence being, like I said before, part of the healing process. My second novel that is called Butterflies in November tells the story of a translator woman who speaks too many languages. She speaks like 14 languages and she doesn't find it very easy to express herself. And she goes on a travel with a deaf boy, a son of a friend. So I wanted to I wanted to show that there is a meaning beyond languages. And that maybe brings us back to what I said in the beginning, that Hotel Silence is a physical novel.
Mm-hmm. But the silence, if I would stay silent for a while, it would be very awkward, very uncomfortable for all of us, for me, but for you and people looking at. We have to fill the space with words and
fill it with meaning, with words. Absolutely, and you shouldn't stay silent, you know, because you are someone that has something to say. Obviously, I was just pointing out that there are people, good people, that that are not able to use this powerful tool that is misused. It's used for gaining power and to justify that power, but it should be used to build bridges between people in the world, to understand the other and to see that we are all the same. And our nature might be paradoxal, but that's my meaning. Of course you should speak, but you know, it's just that feeling that language is wrong hands being misused.
Is it true that you're writing song lyrics?
Yeah. I write song lyrics for a performance band called Milky Whale.
And
Milky Whale, whale, yeah.
And what do you like to...
Like milk and whale.
Yeah, Milky Whale.
Yeah.
What do you like to write about when you know that your words will be... someone will sing your words? Is it a different approach?
It's all different approach. I'm also a playwright. So I've written 5 plays, and they are very different from my novels, actually. 3 of them have been put on stage at the National Theatre in Iceland, and some critics speak of them as neo-absurdism. But I think it's just, realistic, ordinary Icelandic conversations that, they are never about, the conversation is never about what it is about, You talk about everything else. You don't get to the point.
We're close to the ending of the session. So we can have few questions from the audience. Czy mają Państwo mają Panie jakieś pytania do...
Do we have any questions from the audience? Would you like to address the author?
Można je teraz zadać,
if so, you can ask them now.
Jakąś myśl.
You can share your opinion. You can contribute to this meeting. Please feel free to contribute. The internet users, maybe? No?
Okay.
Getting back to marriage, because we were speaking of words, we have the same word in Icelandic for understand and separate, to separate, skilja.
Separate.
And to understand. Like you were speaking of families before.
Yeah.
The complicated family pattern in Iceland with access, but there are also just normal families, in Iceland. What you would call normal, but yeah. So that can be complicated if the person you're talking to doesn't know if you want to understand him or separate.
So maybe
the same word.
Maybe we can end our conversation with my favorite sentence from your book. It's the future of the man is the woman. Yeah, woman is the future of the man.
Future of man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, wasn't it Aragon? I probably borrowed it.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you.
But it's still classic. It's classical. Yeah. So it's either, you can choose. It's either a woman that is the future of man or the world, or poetry, or both.
Yeah.
A female poet.
But you knew from the beginning that you wanted to add this sentence to your book? You wanted to have it there?
Probably it was somewhere there, yeah.
And why?
Well, the hero is doing as he's taught. It's after a civil war or after a war or a financial collapse. It's the role of women to rebuild a society. We know that, from every war. And they have to be this milestone in the family at the same time. And so this hero, the male hero of Hotel Silence, he's giving them a hand.
Yeah. But the sentence is so true on many levels, but it's also, it can also...
Mending a broken world.
Yeah, but it also can sound like a provocation. In your book, the Jonas is helping women, and that makes some men angry. They feel that he's not supporting them, and they need help as well. So that's why.
Well, in a broader I know. But in a broader perspective, we are all, you know, a mixture of male and female, manhood and, you know, and femininity.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being with us here in Warsaw, and thank you for inviting us to your house. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much, all of you.
Bye.